That's called amplification. Group stalking in a helicopter, just like you saw while the light source was setting in alignment to me, which is not the sun. It's a specific environment. That's group stalking. It's an ongoing sex offense committed by the state that uses helicopter to engage in the criminal elements of monitoring, which is demonic activity. 5:05 in the morning. 5:06 in the morning while the LAPD is flying over my apartment in a helicopter. And I will show you the engineered light that is inside of my apartment at nightfall as well. Speaking to the equally impossible impossible light activity. The creation of that audible activity that you just heard, this is the identical circumstances that I documented after yesterday evening, where LAPD is already at a great distance, and you're looking at the hillside, this hillside which is covered in engineered light, and the light source is outside of that bedroom window, like I just pointed out, which is, first of all, revealing targeting, because the sun is not rising and setting. It's never going to be present over this property, which is already established as a matter of evidence. The entity also engages in maintaining that light source that you saw over my apartment in alignment to my bedroom window, while LAPD is documented group stalking using a helicopter, engaging in terrorism. And the elements of monitoring, that is group stalking in concert with the people of the state, this same population at 5 in the morning is what's going on now. I'm letting you know this is exactly what I documented on video, which you saw earlier at approximately, it was after 6 p.m., I believe, 5 p.m. in the evening on May 19th, 2024. It is May 20th, 2024 at 5:07 in the morning right now. And as I walked to this living room window, you saw the distance of LAPD in a helicopter, which was called stalking. Their group stalking. They were in the path flying in this direction at a great distance in a helicopter. And I was showing you, pointing out all the elements of monitoring. What you're looking at right now is crossing path in a helicopter. The entity is engaging with flying directly over my apartment. The entity is not only flying over my apartment, as I documented right now, they are using more than one helicopter. And you're looking at what is, again, beyond a coincidence that you're looking at a helicopter that's crossing path. But nonetheless, the entity is engaged in the elements of monitoring in the same exact specific environment. This is engineered light. So let me show you the patrol. This is LAPD that is engaged in pacing around in helicopters. This is the red blinking light. This is the conduct of ongoing surveillance, and it's criminal, and it's occurring in the specific environment while they are pacing around in the irrelevant position in helicopters. This is going in opposite directions. This is called demonic pacing. The white light and the red light, this is pacing. And this is entirely demonic. You're looking at demons that are pacing in the airspace, and you also know both their condition and their criminal activity while you're looking at them in relevant position right now. And that's based on, first of all, the amplified audible activity. They are stalking me. They're stalking in helicopters. This is ongoing documentation of targeting. And this is the light source. Excuse me. This is the source of engineered light. This is my shadow that's above my head in my living room. And that is not light activity that's ever naturally occurring from a light, from a street lamp. And this is light that creates a shadow on the ground. And also, as I've documented while I'm walking outside, documenting the same specific environment that's present at nightfall, my shadow surrounds myself, creating what is literally group stalking by light activity by my shadow that is surrounding my person, as I have 4 shadows as I walk around outside and on this property, which is the pattern of conduct. This light activity, having a street lamp, is not the explanation for light activity that's appearing on the ceiling. This is the same exact pattern of impossible light activity that you see during the day, which is, again, creating the shape of the window and creating that pattern of that window. The object, in other words, that the engineered light is touching is appearing above my head. The entity does the same thing where you have the engineered light and you're looking at the pattern of the blinds appearing on my head, and then you see the downward trajectory through the same closed blinds, and the entity is also aiming engineered light at a downward trajectory where it's spreading all across the ground. All of it is impossible light activity. None of that is sunlight. That is the same exact engineered light that you're looking at right now. And by the way, where you have engineered light, that is speaking to the engineered environment. There is always engineered light. Like I said, you're just establishing the fact that it is indeed the specific environment. The specific environment is always present. It is at no time converting to a natural environment, nor is it any time anything other than group stalking. But that's the evidence, and that's the 24-hour stalking, that is group stalking by a corrupt law enforcement agency that flew over my apartment. And then you see them flying, crossing path on video, and you're also looking at demonic pacing while you're looking at two of them flying in relevant position. That is crossing path, crisscrossing. That's demonic. Those are two demons flying helicopters, and they're crossing path repeatedly in opposite directions, and they are group stalking on video while you see that. They're also group stalking while you can hear them flying directly over my apartment in helicopter, creating an unreasonable nuisance in doing so. They're not at that great distance, and I'm able to hear it inside of my apartment. They are necessarily flying over me. They're necessarily engaging in what is crossing path at close distance, creating sensational and audible activity in the engineered light. And you're not group stalking by yourself. They're group stalking in concert with the people of the state. And this is the exact same targeting conduct that I documented and provided a prolonged screen recording so that you can see the impossible light activity where these corrupt law enforcement agencies, which are the demon-possessed workforce here in LA, it is Dominic Choi's Los Angeles Police Department, and they're engaged in 24-hour surveillance, doing so in helicopter, which is what you see. This is a demon that's doing nothing other than ongoing pacing and engaged in what is a sex offense right now, invasion of privacy. Listening to everything that I am saying right now while you're looking at light activity and relevant positioning and the impossible light activity that is inside of my apartment. This is evidence that's going against Lucy Santos of 1800 North Alvarado Street, apartment number 1, living at a crime scene, engaged in group stalking in concert with the corrupt entity that uses helicopter to engage in group stalking. This is, again, not just Lucy Santos, but I'm letting you know how you're going to prosecute the people of the state living at a crime scene and the people of the state that are living in relevant position. All of the people of the state that are living on this hillside are jointly engaged in group stalking in concert with that state. This is the community that's engaged in 24-hour criminal surveillance. This is the same entity where the sunrise and the sunset is occurring in relevant position while that light source remains in alignment to me. This is the exact same circumstances that you saw in the evening where there was the impossible occurrence, which was a sunset in alignment to my apartment, and which is not the sun, it is the light source, in the same way that this is a source of engineered light, which is the evidence of targeting, the entity crossing path by helicopter in relevant position, which is evidence of targeting in the specific environment. This is not a natural environment where you're seeing a helicopter flying by. This is the specific environment where you're seeing a corrupt law enforcement agency group stalking in the path using a helicopter after amplified audible activity of a helicopter is sounded inside of my apartment. Those are the elements of monitoring, and it is 5:13 a.m. So I want to document that's the ongoing sex offense. That is the evidence against all of the people of the state. All 59 units here at Alvarado Gardens are subject to federal prison because the entity is engaged in 24-hour criminal surveillance, utilizing helicopters specifically, which is the pattern of conduct by the corrupt law enforcement agencies in California. They utilize helicopters to engage in the pattern of conduct, and they do so. This is an exceedingly violent sex offense while I'm documenting not only the terrorism via directed light, which is light that's appearing above my head on my ceiling, which is impossible light activity that is not the result of a street lamp that you see outside. It is light that is piercing through, again, closed blinds. That impossible light activity is appearing above my head on the ceiling. The identical impossible light activity that you see during the day, that you see at all hours of the day appearing and disappearing on my ceiling, that is engineered light. That is the evidence of what is indeed stalking by helicopter as you're looking at the state using a helicopter outside in relevant position. This is documentation of Silverview townhomes as well, 1830 through 1898 North Alvarado Street. They're engaged and they are documented by virtue of presence in the path in concert with that corrupt entity that uses helicopters to engage in group stalking and audible activity creation, which is the element of criminal monitoring, and crossing a path. Light activity through the use of the blinking lights that are the helicopters. They're engaging in all of the elements of monitoring because my voice, even while they are group stalking in a distance, they are engaged in all three elements of monitoring because my voice is the audible activity while you're looking at the corrupt entity that is engaging in a sex offense while I'm capturing them on video in concert with the people of the state who are simultaneously being documented and prosecuted for the violent sex offense of engaging in group stalking inside of a private space. All right, all 59 units that live at Alvarado Gardens are subject to federal prison. And this is, again, inherently grounds of mental examinations for all of the people people of the state. The LAPD itself is a corrupt entity that is subject to federal prison and is subject to disbanding. And Dominic Choi himself is subject to immediate release, removal, dismissal from his position as chief of police, who is not ignorant, nor can reasonably contend ignorance with regard to the exposure and prosecution for terrorism, which the LAPD is engaging in concert with the people of the state. A criminal act committed by the entirety of the state of California, as it's been subject to documentation exposure as of 2018, and it continues to remain underway in 2024. Dominic Choi and the Los Angeles Police Department are acting in conformity to that criminal act committed by a public entity, the state. They are not engaging in the criminal act that is isolated to LA County. They're engaged in criminal conduct on behalf of the entirety of that entity, and it is in conformity to the criminal system that has been documented for a prolonged period. And that, by the way, is outside of any coincidence that they're engaging in that same pattern and that the specific environment is present in LA. The entity isn't engaging in the criminal elements of monitoring in the specific environment, and it is indeed evidence not only against Lucy Santos, and who lives at 1800 North Alvarado Street, but all 59 units are filled with third parties. All minor children are going to be removed from the custody of the people of the state. They're documented group stalkers living at a crime scene committed to the state's criminal system. They're engaged in the pattern of conduct, and it is grounds of not only federal prison, but removal of custody and mental examinations required. It is permeating the lives. Upon federal prosecution, you're going to be permeating the lives of the people of the state that are in relevant position, which includes not only Silverview townhomes, not only federal prison for all those living at the crime city at Alvarado Gardens, not only civil and criminal prosecution of our Todd Speaker and speaker companies, because the entity is engaged in an ongoing pattern of conduct in concert with all those that live in relevant position. The people of the state along the hillside that are within the zone of relevant positioning, which scans far beyond those that you see in relevant position in my camera as I'm outside of my living room window this morning, and you're seeing all the elements of monitoring. This community is subject to a federal prosecution. It is currently 5:17 in the morning, May 20th, 2024, and this is P.O.C.